In the vastness of space, a new threat was emerging. The galaxy, a peaceful federation of many different alien species, had lived in harmony for centuries. But peace was a fragile thing. The Xorlith, an ancient and aggressive alien race, had begun their campaign of destruction. Their warships were unlike anything the galaxy had ever seen. Armed with weapons of mass destruction and advanced technology, they swept across the stars, conquering planet after planet. The Federation, a group of many species united for mutual protection, was powerless to stop them. On a small, isolated planet called Earth, humans were mostly unknown to the wider galaxy. They had just begun exploring space, with only a handful of ships and limited technology compared to the vast powers of the Federation. But Earth was about to play a role that would change the course of the galaxy forever. The Federation, seeing no other option, sent out a distress signal, a call for help to all corners of the galaxy. The message was simple but desperate. Help! The Xorlith are coming. The galaxy is in danger. It was broadcast on all frequencies, reaching even the farthest stars. It was a plea that echoed across space, hoping to find someone, anyone, who could stand against the Xorlith. The message reached Earth, where it was intercepted by the crew aboard the International Space Station. At first, the humans didn't know what to make of it. Earth had never been involved in galactic affairs, and many believed they were too small and insignificant to make any difference. But when the humans on the space station heard the desperation in the message, they knew they had to act. General Sarah Hale, a seasoned strategist with a deep understanding of warfare, was the first to realize the seriousness of the situation. She had seen war firsthand and knew that the Federation was not capable of fighting the Xorlith alone. Earth had to help, even if it meant going to war against an enemy unlike any they had faced before. She quickly gathered a team of military leaders, scientists, and engineers, and together they began to prepare Earth's response. Commander Jason Cole, a veteran of many battles, was put in charge of the military operations. He understood the dangers of war, but he also knew that humans had one thing no other species had: the ability to adapt and think on their feet. The Xorlith might have superior technology, but humanity's greatest strength was its creativity and determination. The humans had no experience with intergalactic battles, but they had something that could make a difference: the will to fight for survival. With the Federation on the brink of collapse, the call for help from a desperate galaxy became the spark that would ignite humanity's first step into the galactic stage. As Earth's leaders made their decision, they knew that this would be a war unlike any other. They were unprepared, outgunned, and unknown to the galaxy. But they had something even more powerful: hope. Humans were about to answer the call, and they were ready to show the galaxy what they were capable of. The future of the galaxy depended on them. As the call for help echoed across the stars, Earth began its preparation for the impossible. General Sarah Hale and Commander Jason Cole worked around the clock, organizing humanity's first-ever intergalactic fleet. Earth's technology was far from advanced compared to the Federation's mighty forces, but they had something none of the galactic species had ever seen before: raw determination. On Earth, the news spread like wildfire. People from all walks of life rallied behind the cause. Scientists and engineers, young and old, offered their skills to build spacecrafts that could carry humanity into the war. The planet's military, though small, had never been more united. The entire world understood the importance of this moment. If they didn't act, the galaxy could fall, and humanity would have no future. With no time to waste, Earth's leaders chose to send the best of their fleet to join the Federation. The human ships, although underpowered compared to the Xorlith's advanced war machines, were packed with Earth's finest soldiers, officers, and engineers. As the fleet took off, Earth's entire population watched in awe, knowing their fate was now tied to the stars. When the fleet arrived at the Federation's capital, the humans were met with a cold welcome. The Federation, a vast and ancient alliance of alien species, had lived in peace for centuries. They had never seen a species like humans. Their war machines were massive, their ships powerful, and their technology far beyond anything humans had ever seen. The Federation's leaders were doubtful that Earth could bring anything of value to the fight. The humans had no experience in galactic warfare, and many believed they were only setting themselves up for disaster. But General Hale and Commander Cole were determined to prove them wrong. They knew their forces might be smaller, but they also knew that Earth had one advantage no one else had: humanity's ability to fight when the odds were stacked against them. The humans might not have the strongest weapons or the largest fleets, but they had something more important: courage, and the will to never give up. The first meeting between humans and the Federation leaders was tense. The aliens were skeptical, but General Hale stood tall, outlining her strategy and showing her unwavering belief in Earth's potential. She explained that, while their technology was not as advanced, humans were masters of resourcefulness. Commander Cole spoke of their determination, of how they had survived countless wars on their own planet, and how their soldiers were trained to face impossible odds. Slowly, the Federation began to listen. They knew they had no choice. If they wanted to defeat the Corlith, they needed every ally they could find, even if those allies were inexperienced humans. The humans had no choice but to prove themselves quickly, or they would be rejected. But despite the skepticism, Earth's fleet was soon integrated into the Federation's military. Commander Cole's team took the lead in coordinating defense strategies. They learned quickly from their new allies, adapting their tactics and combining Earth's creativity with the Federation's technology. Humanity's boldness in battle began to make a mark, and soon, the Federation began to realize that Earth's soldiers weren't just fighting for themselves. They were fighting for the entire galaxy. As the humans trained alongside Federation forces, the galaxy's first true alliance began to take shape. But time was running out. The Corlith were getting closer, and every day spent preparing felt like a day wasted. The Federation, once skeptical, began to understand. Humanity had arrived, and they were here to stay. The first true test of humanity's resolve came sooner than expected. The Corlith, sensing the growing strength of the Federation and Earth's involvement, launched an unexpected attack on one of the Federation's key worlds, Green's Reach. It was a lush, resource-rich planet that held great strategic value. If the Corlith took Green's Reach, it would pave the way for their further conquest of the galaxy. The Federation's forces were already spread thin, and their defenses were no match for the brutal assault the Corlith unleashed. The human fleet, still new to the galactic stage, was far from ready for this kind of battle. The Federation's military leaders were unsure if the humans would be able to contribute anything useful in the fight. General Hale, however, was not one to give up. She knew this would be the moment to prove humanity's worth. The humans had faced overwhelming odds before on Earth, and they had always found a way to fight back. Now was no different. She gathered her commanders and formed a plan. Despite being outnumbered and outgunned, the humans would fight with everything they had. Commander Jason Cole took charge of the human fleet, which was still learning to fight alongside the Federation's forces. His training on Earth had prepared him for impossible situations, but this would be different. The Corlith's ships were powerful and ruthless, and their weapons could wipe out entire fleets in minutes. But Cole believed in one thing: that Corlith, for all their power, were not invincible. There were weaknesses, and humanity was good at finding them. The first battle took place in Green's Reach's orbit. The Corlith arrived in a massive fleet, their ships dark and menacing, launching destructive energy beams at the planet below. The Federation ships, including the humans' newly modified vessels, immediately engaged. But the Corlith forces were too strong. In the opening moments, several Federation ships were destroyed, and it seemed like the humans were destined for failure. But General Hale refused to give up. She gave the order for humans to switch tactics. Instead of facing the Corlith head-on, they would use guerrilla tactics, hitting the enemy where they least expected it. The humans knew how to fight against a stronger force. They would use the environment, the planets, and even space debris to their advantage. Commander Cole, leading a group of human pilots, led a daring attack on the Chlorlith's flank. Their ships were smaller, more maneuverable, and able to weave in and out of the larger Chlorlith vessels. They attacked in waves, using hit-and-run tactics that confused and disoriented the enemy. The Chlorlith were not used to such unpredictability, and it created openings in their defenses. The humans, working with Federation forces, launched coordinated attacks on the Chlorlith's supply ships, cutting off their resources and slowing down their reinforcements. It wasn't a large victory, but it was a victory nonetheless. The humans had proven their ability to adapt and fight smart. After hours of intense combat, the Chlorlith were forced to retreat, leaving Green's Reach in the hands of the Federation. The humans had made their mark. They had faced an overwhelming force and had come out victorious, proving that their creativity and courage could make a real difference in the war. As the dust settled and the Federation celebrated the victory, one thing was clear: humanity had earned its place on the galactic stage. The road ahead would be long, but humans were ready. They had shown that they could stand up to the Chlorlith, and they would keep fighting until the galaxy was safe. After the victory at Green's Reach, the galaxy began to take notice. The humans had proven themselves in battle, and their unexpected victory had shifted the balance of power. General Sarah Hale and Commander Jason Cole knew that the war against the Chlorlith was far from over, and they understood that humanity's strength alone wouldn't be enough to secure the galaxy's future. It was time to form alliances. The Federation had already been struggling to hold off the Chlorlith, and while their forces were strong, they were fragmented. Different species fought for different reasons, each with their own agendas and interests. To defeat the Chlorlith, the Federation would need to unite fully. This is where humanity's unique skills came into play. Humans were masters of diplomacy and negotiation, and despite their young age as an intergalactic power, they had the potential to bring the Federation's fractured forces together. General Hale, with her deep understanding of strategy and alliances, began reaching out to the various species of the Federation. Some were eager to work with humans, recognizing the strength and courage they had shown. Others, however, were less convinced. Many alien species were proud and independent, and they didn't trust the humans. To them, humanity was an unknown, and they feared that humans might be just as dangerous as the Chlorlith themselves. Despite the challenges, General Hale remained determined. She traveled from world to world, meeting with the leaders of the Federation's races. On the lush, forest-covered planet of Tila, she spoke to the Arbari, a species of giant, intelligent insects who had their own deep history of warfare. On the frozen moon of Cormus, she met the Virex, a stoic and reserved species known for their long-range weapons. Each species had their strengths and weaknesses, but they all had one thing in common: they feared the Chlorlith. General Hale's meetings were not without difficulty. The Virex, for example, were hesitant to offer any help. They had lost countless soldiers in previous battles and were unwilling to risk more lives. The Arbari, on the other hand, were eager to join the fight, but their insect nature made it difficult for them to connect with the humans in a meaningful way. However, despite these challenges, Hale's diplomacy skills began to pay off. Commander Cole, though not as skilled in diplomacy, used his military experience to influence the leaders of the Federation. He spoke to the Virex leaders in their language, showing them that humans understood the importance of strategy and defense. He worked with the Arbari to set up joint training exercises between their forces and humanity's troops, demonstrating how well their species could work together on the battlefield. Slowly but surely, humanity's influence began to spread. The once skeptical species saw that the humans were not only capable warriors, but also able to unite different species in a common cause. General Hale's diplomatic efforts were paying off, and the Federation's military began to operate as a unified force. Trust was building between humans and the other species, and the hope of defeating the Chlorlith seemed more possible with every passing day. But not all was smooth sailing. Some races still remained wary of the humans, unsure of their true intentions. Yet, With every victory, humanity proved that they were not just fighting for survival. They were fighting for the entire galaxy. As the Federation's forces grew stronger, the humans were becoming more than just a new ally. They were becoming leaders, uniting the galaxy against a common enemy. With alliances forming and tensions slowly easing, the Federation's forces were now ready for their next big challenge. But the Corlith were watching, and they would not give up their conquest easily. The real battle was just beginning. The Federation had barely begun to breathe easy after their victory at Green's Reach when the Corlith struck back with a vengeance. Their massive warships appeared suddenly, ripping through the galaxy with a speed and power that caught even the United Federation off guard. The Corlith's relentless attack forced the Federation to scramble their forces, but the humans, now a key part of the Federation's military, were ready for the challenge. General Sarah Hale was already preparing for the worst. The Corlith's tactics were brutal and direct, and their previous victories had proven how dangerous they were. The Federation had no time to waste. Every move had to be calculated, every soldier ready for the fight of their lives. Hale's experience in war was invaluable as she quickly reorganized the Federation's forces, positioning humanity's ships in strategic locations across the galaxy. She knew that this time, they couldn't rely on surprise victories or guerrilla tactics. The Corlith were bringing everything they had. Commander Jason Cole, now a key leader in the Federation's battle plans, knew this fight would be different. The Corlith's counterattack was unlike anything they had faced before. Their fleet was vast and powerful, and they showed no mercy as they tore through the Federation's defenses, one planet after another. The humans, though still learning, had proven themselves adaptable, but the Corlith had the experience of countless wars behind them. This time, it wasn't just about fighting smarter, it was about surviving. The first major battle took place near the gas giant of Phala Prime, a key strategic location in the galaxy. The Federation had built a series of defensive outposts to protect the area, but the Corlith arrived in overwhelming force. As soon as their ships entered the system, the Federation's sensors went haywire. Overwhelmed by the sheer size and power of the incoming fleet, it was clear that the Corlith were determined to crush the Federation's hope once and for all. General Hale called for all available ships to mobilize, and the human fleet, now battle-tested, quickly joined the fight. The human soldiers fought with fierce determination, showing the galaxy that they were no longer a weak, untested species. But the Corlith were ruthless, cutting through Federation forces like a knife through butter. Commander Cole led a group of human ships into the heart of the Corlith formation, using their smaller, more maneuverable ships to strike fast and disrupt the enemy's strategy. The battle raged for hours, and the Federation began to lose ground. The Corlith, with their superior weapons and vast numbers, slowly began to push the Federation back. Commander Cole, watching the battle unfold, realized that the Federation's forces were not strong enough to hold the line. They needed a new plan, something unexpected that the Corlith wouldn't see coming. In the chaos, the humans began to use their creativity to their advantage. They knew that the Corlith relied on overwhelming firepower and brute force, but what they didn't expect was humanity's ability to think outside the box. Using asteroids as cover and leveraging the dense cloud formations around Phala Prime, human ships began to launch surprise attacks on the Corlith's flank, disrupting their formation and forcing them to divert resources to protect their rear. While the Federation's fleet was taking heavy losses, the humans began to show their true value. Commander Cole's leadership, combined with the resourcefulness of the human fleet, turned the tide. Though the battle was far from won, the Corlith were forced to regroup, allowing the Federation a brief moment to breathe. The Corlith's counterattack was devastating, but it wasn't the end. The Federation had proven that they could hold their ground, and humanity had shown the galaxy that they were more than just survivors. They were fighters. The war was far from over, but with each battle, the Federation and humanity were gaining strength. The Corlith might have underestimated them, but the humans were proving that they were not so easily defeated. And as long as humanity stood, there would always be hope. The battle at Fala Prime had been a brutal wake-up call for the Federation. Despite their best efforts, they had suffered heavy losses, and the Xorlith's unrelenting attacks continued to threaten their survival. However, in the aftermath of the chaos, a glimmer of hope emerged. It came from an unexpected source: Earth. General Sarah Hale, though deeply affected by the losses, never lost sight of the bigger picture. She knew that the war would not be won through one battle, but through persistence and unity. The humans, with their unique ability to adapt and think creatively, were more valuable to the Federation than ever. But they also needed more resources, more ships, and more allies to stand a chance against the overwhelming might of the Xorlith. That was when Commander Jason Cole came up with an idea, a risky but potentially game-changing strategy. If the humans could unlock the ancient technology hidden on the lost planet of Orcs, an abandoned world rumored to hold weapons capable of turning the tide of the war, they might be able to give the Federation the edge they desperately needed. Orcs was a forgotten world, lost to time, and nearly wiped from all galactic maps. It had once been the center of an advanced civilization that was destroyed long before the rise of the Federation. Its technology was ancient, and many believed it to be nothing more than a myth. But Commander Cole was determined. If the rumors were true, then Orcs held the key to humanity's victory. With General Hale's approval, the humans and Federation forces set course for the mysterious planet. The journey would not be easy. Orcs was located on the farthest edge of known space, beyond the reach of most of the Federation's surveillance systems. The risk of a Xorlith ambush was high, but they had no other choice. Their only hope lay in this ancient technology. The journey to Orcs was long and dangerous, and every moment felt like it could be their last. As they entered the system, they were met with silence. The planet itself was a barren wasteland, its surface pocked with craters and scars from its ancient past. Nothing seemed to live there, and there was no sign of life to be found. The world seemed almost abandoned. Still, the humans pressed on. Upon landing, the Federation scientists and engineers, working alongside Earth's brightest minds, began to search the planet's surface. They combed through ancient ruins, deciphering cryptic writings and scanning hidden structures deep beneath the planet's surface. The clock was ticking. The Xorlith were not far behind, and they would surely come looking for them once they realized the humans had discovered Orcs. Days passed, and the pressure mounted. The Federation's forces were on edge, anticipating an attack at any moment. General Hale and Commander Cole knew that if the Xorlith found them first, all would be lost. But then, just when they were beginning to lose hope, the humans uncovered something extraordinary. Deep within the ruins, they found a hidden vault, and inside it was a technology unlike anything they had ever seen. Energy weapons, advanced shields, and a propulsion system capable of faster-than-light travel. The planet of Orcs had once been home to a race of beings far more advanced than even the Federation, and their technology was still intact. It was the edge the Federation so desperately needed. As the discovery was made, the Federation scientists and human engineers began to reverse engineer the ancient technology. They worked together, learning from the past and preparing to integrate the weapons into their fleet. The tables were starting to turn, and with this new technology, they now had a fighting chance. The humans had unlocked the secret to victory, but their time was running out. The Xorlith were already closing in on their position. The battle for Orcs had only just begun, but for the first time in a long while, the Federation had reason to hope. The humans had delivered the spark that could ignite the galaxy's final fight against the Xorlith. Now, they had to survive long enough to use it. The discovery of Orcs' ancient technology had given the Federation a new sense of hope, but it came with a heavy price. The Xorlith were closing in fast, aware that the humans had uncovered something powerful on the lost planet. General Sarah Hale and Commander Jason Cole knew they had little time to fully integrate the advanced weapons into their fleet. If they couldn't defend the planet, they would lose everything. The Federation's forces, though now bolstered by the new technology, were still reeling from previous losses. The Corlith, however, had one advantage. They were ruthless and relentless. The galaxy had never seen an enemy like them before. Their warships were designed for total destruction, and they never stopped until their enemies were wiped out completely. As the Corlith's fleet entered the Orcs system, General Hale prepared for the worst. Her voice was steady as she gave orders to her commanders. "We hold them off here, no matter what. This planet is key to our survival. If we lose it, we lose everything." Commander Cole, now in command of the human fleet, understood the gravity of the situation. Orcs was more than just a planet. It was a symbol. Humanity's survival and the future of the entire galaxy depended on keeping the Corlith away. They couldn't afford to fail. The battle began in the dark silence of space, with the Federation fleet positioned near the planet's orbit. The Corlith arrived in full force, their massive ships blocking out the stars as they approached. General Hale knew that they couldn't face the Corlith head-on. They needed to use the planet's terrain, its moons, and the new technology they had just uncovered to their advantage. The Federation's ships, now equipped with energy weapons and advanced shields from Orcs, took up defensive positions, using asteroids and debris to hide their movements. Commander Cole led the charge, his fleet darting in and out of the shadows, launching surprise attacks on the Corlith warships. The new weapons were powerful, but still untested in real battle. Would they be enough to stop the Corlith? The first wave of Corlith ships came in, firing devastating energy blasts that tore through the Federation's defenses. The human fleet took heavy damage, but they refused to back down. In the chaos, the humans used their creativity to stay one step ahead. Ships swooped in low, firing blasts at the Corlith from unexpected angles, forcing the enemy to spread out and shift their formation. It wasn't enough. The Corlith were too strong, and the Federation's defenses were buckling. The humans were holding their own, but they were running out of time. General Hale knew that the Federation's fleet wouldn't last much longer against the Corlith's superior firepower. In a last-ditch effort, Commander Cole activated the final secret weapon from Orcs, a propulsion system that allowed the human ships to phase in and out of hyperspace for short bursts, making them nearly impossible to target. The new maneuverability gave them the edge they needed. The Corlith's ships, unable to predict the sudden movements, started to fall apart under the human fleet's relentless strikes. Despite their overwhelming numbers, the Corlith were not prepared for this new tactic. Commander Cole led the charge, darting in and out of hyperspace, taking down Corlith ships one by one. The human strategy began to turn the tide. Federation ships, now able to strike from unpredictable angles, gained ground. For the first time in the battle, the Corlith were on the defensive. But it was not yet over. The Corlith sent in their flagship, a massive, heavily armored ship capable of destroying entire fleets with a single blast. General Hale knew this would be their final test. With the Federation fleet weakened and their resources running low, the humans had no choice but to go all in. Commander Cole, his face grim but determined, led the final charge. He ordered all human ships to focus their firepower on the flagship, using the last of their advanced weaponry. The battle reached its peak as both sides threw everything they had into the fight. And just when it seemed like the humans might be overwhelmed, the flagship exploded in a burst of light, sending shockwaves throughout the system. The Corlith, leaderless and battered, began to retreat. The Federation had won the battle for Orcs. Though they had lost many ships, humanity's ingenuity and courage had turned the tide. General Hale, watching from her command center, allowed herself a small breath of relief. They had won, but at a great cost. The Federation was not out of danger yet. The Corlith would regroup, and the war would continue. But for the first time, the humans had proven that they could hold their own against the galaxy's deadliest enemy. The tide of war had shifted, and the galaxy's hope had been restored. After the hard-won victory at Orcs, the Federation knew that the end of the war was still far off. The Corlith, though wounded, were not defeated. They would rebuild, regroup, and return with even greater force. But the humans, having proven themselves time and again, were not about to sit back. They had shown that they could fight, and now they were determined to finish the job. General Sarah Hale stood in her command center, staring at the holographic map of the galaxy. The Corlith strongholds were spread across key systems, but they had one major weakness: their homeworld, a dark and dangerous place at the center of their empire. If the Federation could destroy the Corlith homeworld, it would deal a decisive blow to their entire military force. The plan was risky. The Corlith were heavily fortified, and their defenses were nearly impenetrable. But the Federation had something the Corlith did not: the element of surprise. General Hale, now leading the unified army of human and alien forces, knew this was their best chance to end the war once and for all. Commander Jason Cole was once again at the forefront of the mission. He had become a symbol of humanity's strength, respected by the Federation's leaders and soldiers alike. The humans had earned their place in this war, and now they would lead the charge. Together with the Federation's top military strategists, Cole developed the final push, a large-scale assault on the Corlith's heart, their homeworld. The plan was simple but dangerous. The Federation would assemble a fleet strong enough to reach the Corlith's homeworld. But the Corlith's defenses were formidable, and there was only one way to penetrate their final line of defense: humanity's new weapons from Orcs. With the advanced technology now fully integrated into the Federation's ships, they had the firepower they needed to challenge the Corlith head-on. As the Federation fleet, led by the humans, traveled toward the Corlith homeworld, the tension was thick. The soldiers, once unsure of their place in this galaxy, now stood united, knowing they were on the brink of something momentous. They had fought together through the darkest hours, and now they were ready for the final confrontation. Commander Cole led the human fleet through the unknown space near the Corlith's homeworld. Their ships, now faster and more powerful, cut through the darkness, their hulls glowing with the energy of the new weapons. The Federation's forces followed closely, ready to strike. The battle would not be easy, but they were prepared. As they neared the Corlith homeworld, the Federation's fleet encountered a vast wall of Corlith warships, forming an impenetrable blockade. The Corlith knew they were coming. They had been expecting this final push for a long time. But this time, the Federation was not afraid. The first wave of battle began with an explosion of energy. The Federation's ships charged forward, their new weapons cutting through the Corlith ships with devastating force. Commander Cole led his fleet in a series of coordinated attacks, their ships weaving in and out of enemy fire, striking the Corlith forces with precision. The Corlith retaliated with all their might, but the Federation's new technology allowed them to stay one step ahead. The battle raged for hours. The Federation fleet took heavy losses, but they pressed on. Every human ship was crucial, and every moment counted. The Corlith were fierce, but they couldn't keep up with the Federation's speed and cunning. With every passing minute, the human fleet pushed deeper into the heart of the Corlith defenses. Finally, after what felt like an eternity, the Federation fleet reached the Corlith homeworld's atmosphere. The final stage of the mission had begun. The Corlith would not go down easily, but the humans knew this was their moment. They had come too far to fail. With the Federation's forces in position, Commander Cole gave the order. The Federation unleashed their full assault, firing every weapon at their disposal. The Corlith homeworld shook with the power of the blast, and as the smoke cleared, the once imposing planet was a shadow of its former self. The Corlith were broken. For the first time, there was silence. The Corlith had been defeated. The war was over. The victory did not come without cost. Many brave soldiers, including many humans, had given their lives in the fight. The Federation mourned their loss, but they also celebrated. The galaxy had been saved, and humanity had proven itself as a true force in the universe. General Hale and Commander Cole stood side by side, looking at the stars. The battle was won, but the future was still uncertain. The Federation had survived, and humanity had earned its place among the stars. The journey ahead would be different now. The humans had answered the call when the galaxy needed heroes, and they had answered it with everything they had. The war was over. The Clorlith were defeated, their homeworld shattered, and their fleet scattered to the far reaches of space. The Federation had survived, and the galaxy was finally at peace. But for General Sarah Hale, Commander Jason Cole, and the people of Earth, the fight was not truly over. They had won the battle, but now they had to rebuild the galaxy and secure humanity's place within it. In the aftermath of the victory, the Federation held a grand ceremony to honor the fallen. Across the galaxy, ships docked at spaceports, and soldiers returned home, some with scars that would never fade, others with stories that would be told for generations. The human soldiers were no longer just an untested species in the galaxy. They were heroes. They had earned the respect of every race, every species that had fought alongside them. And now, they had to prepare for the future. General Hale stood at the front of the ceremony, her face somber but proud. She had seen many battles in her life, but none like this. The humans had proven their strength, their resilience, and their creativity in ways that no one had imagined. They were not just survivors anymore. They were a new force in the galaxy, one that would shape its future. Commander Cole, standing next to her, watched the crowds with a quiet sense of satisfaction. He had led the charge on Orcs, fought alongside humans and aliens alike, and seen his people grow in ways he had never expected. But now, the galaxy was left with a new question. What would humanity's place be in this vast, uncertain future? The Federation, though weakened by the long war, had emerged stronger. The human contributions to the Federation's military strategy had proved invaluable. The galaxy now recognized that humanity was not a side player in this grand game. They were key players, and that was a position they had earned. The peace that followed, however, was fragile. The destruction of the Clorlith had not wiped out all of their influence. The remnants of their forces still lurked in the corners of the galaxy, waiting for the opportunity to strike again. And there were other threats out there, dangers yet unknown. But humanity had learned valuable lessons during the war. They had learned to unite, to adapt, and to never back down. They had earned their place among the stars, and they would not give it up without a fight. In the years that followed, Earth and the Federation grew closer. Humans became leaders in the scientific, political, and military fields. They helped repair the damage done by the war, rebuilding planets and systems that had been devastated by the Clorlith's invasion. But they also began to look outward, to explore the far reaches of space, and encounter new civilizations, new challenges, and new adventures. General Hale retired, passing on the torch to the next generation of leaders. Commander Cole, though still a key figure in the Federation's military, spent more time in diplomacy, working with other species to ensure peace across the galaxy. They had fought to protect the future, and now it was time to shape it. For humanity, this was just the beginning. They had answered the call when the galaxy needed heroes. And now, the galaxy was theirs to protect and explore. The stars no longer seemed so far away. The future, once uncertain, was filled with possibilities. Humanity had made its mark on the universe, and the galaxy knew that as long as humans stood, they would never be alone. The age of peace had begun, but it was an age that would require new heroes, and humanity was ready to rise to the challenge once again. The galaxy had needed heroes, and humanity, with all its flaws and strength, had answered.